Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to share today's video with you guys. My son and I do a lot of sensory play because he was born premature. He was born at 31 weeks. He does have a bit of a sensory issue. We do see an occupational therapist and a physical therapist, so we're always exploring new textures together, and I'm super excited to share this recipe for taste safe Play-Doh. So this isn't my recipe for taste safe Play-Doh. I actually got this recipe from Mother Could on Instagram. I highly recommend you give her a follow. She shares amazing content and a lot of sensory play. Now this recipe calls for a cup of frosting. So I've split a container of frosting into 2 bowls. So there's about a cup in each bowl. Now it also calls for 3/4 a cup of cornstarch. I started out on the blue batch with half a cup of cornstarch and I regretted that. I highly recommend you start with the recommended 3/4 because it was a total mess. I do much better on the next batch, I promise. This batch was so much easier to make because I actually knew what I was doing this time. Now this recipe is taste safe, but I don't recommend that you actually let your children eat it. We have a 3-strike rule when it comes to sensory materials. Now my son is still really young, he's just over a year old, but I warn him the first time when he tries to put it in his mouth, warn him the second time, let him know that if he does it again, it'll be taken away. And when he does it the third time, we'll either switch sensory materials or we just stop sensory play completely. actually really surprised to see how interested in the Play-Doh Jax was. Normally it takes some conversing. As you can see, I did add some buttons in there to see if I could get him to play with it right away. Some of our other sensory materials include pinto beans and black beans, different types of crinkle paper, colored rice, sand that I made, and then he loves buttons, so I keep the buttons out, and pom-poms to kind of add to different sensory materials to get him to interact. He also has measuring cups that he likes to bang around. For older kids, there's lots of tools like Play-Doh tools that you could add to the Play-Doh to keep them engaged for a lot longer, and it would definitely work on fine motor skills. To keep him engaged, I do ask him lots of questions. While we are playing with the beans, I'll pick beans up with my hands and ask him to get the button out of my hand, or I'll use the cups to transfer beans back and forth. Now, you will see him try to put beans in his mouth, and I have to tell him no. After the third time, I do remove the beans, and we just play with the Play-Doh.